So, this is a story about the Grand Canyon and Egyptian artifacts that were found in the Grand Canyon. It begins with the Smithsonian Institute that funded a G.E. Kincaid, an explorer born in Idaho, and he was, according to his own words, looking for minerals from a boat in the Colorado River, and he saw a deposit of minerals along the edge of the canyon, and it piqued his curiosity, and he hiked up to this area only to find a ledge and an opening to a cavern. And the opening had carvings on both sides, and he went in and found more carvings and Egyptian artifacts and copper metallurgy and other metals that look like platinum work and all kinds of advanced art, being of a civilization that obviously that reminded him, according to the faces, it reminded him of Tibetan looking people, and there was a big deity of what looked like a Buddha sitting on a lotus flower meditating. And so yeah, this cross between Egyptian and Buddhist Tibetan-y kind of artifacts found in the Grand Canyon, really fascinating. This article and this whole thing happened around April 5th, 1909, and it was published in the Phoenix Gazette. And there's a lot of things online about it. And then the story kind of disappeared. Actually, the most information we have came from that period, and then there's other things that kind of point to its validity, like non-access in the Grand Canyon where this area is supposed to be. You're not allowed to fly over it. You're not allowed to hike to it. It's been cut off. And apparently the entrance has been sealed as well, but yeah, really interesting. Mr. Kincaid had a lot to say. He talked about how the entrance was 1,400 feet down a sheer canyon wall, and the main passage was originally 12 feet wide, but it was hundreds of feet once you entered many different rooms, different passageways. He said you could have housed 50,000 people in this area. He found granaries with grains, and really, really interesting. And of course all the hieroglyphs. And then finally he found mummies. Mummies in one of the back rooms, and mostly males. It's really interesting. This is kind of a hot spot for the Native Americans, the Hopis that is, as well. They believe that they came and originated from this area. And so, yeah, this may have very well have been the point where they originated from. According to their legend, they came from an underworld where it was dark, and the people they called them two hearts, and the Hopis, were one hearts, and their deity Masau took them from the underworld into the above world, in which he had to grow a tree in the underworld which pierced the dome of the underworld, and sometimes it's referred to as a blade of grass, and almost like a tube, or maybe this is just metaphorical for a portal, but they came through, and where they were on the top was where they are now today. For thousands of years they've existed in northern Arizona up here, And yet this place that Thomas Kincaid found, the Explorer, is just right there in the Grand Canyon, right, an opening into an underworld. And how interesting that all the mountains, even before Kincaid, were all named Isis and Egyptian names. Temple Isis. I mean, how interesting! Even before this great find was discovered.